Hey folks, so it's the beginning of May and we're going to install the Parklet. And these videos are intended to give you a basic idea of how to set it up. There's probably more than one way. However, I'll break it down into parts. So the first part is to lay down the deckings. So we have 4 deckings, 1, 2, 3, 4. Each decking is 5 feet wide by 8 feet long. And it doesn't really matter how they go, they're all identical. So it does matter how you put them in lengthwise. Obviously, the short end of the taper is toward the middle of the street, and the broad end is towards the curb. And then just smush them together as best you can. Something that I'm about to try is to hook a ratchet strap on this end and a ratchet strap on this end, on both ends, the front and the back, just to shore them up while we conduct the next phase, which is using these shims to make this platform level. Now you can see the ratchets are in place and it's kind of hugging and sandwiching all 4 partitions together. Okay, the leveling and toenailing is done. I'll give you a zoom in. So each one of these junctures where the partitions meet, there's a toenail and a toenail. So one going that way, one going that way. These are 4-inch screws. There's another one, and you can see that they're not, this is the side of the partition that you can have not really meet up so well. They're all the same length, but these cords aren't exactly lined up, and that's okay. And on the back side, this is the side you want it to be totally flush. And even as level as possible. So you can see all the way down, it's pretty flush and straight. I used a bunch of shims to bring it all to the same level so that that's flush right here. So there's the toenails. Again, 2 toenails, one going this way, the other one 4-inch screws. We got the same thing here. So leveling is complete. Another thing to consider when you're leveling is to take a walk on here. And if there's any sags or rocking, like if you feel there's a rocking point, that means you probably need to shim somewhere. So right now, there's no rocking, it's all feeling very solid. And that's what we're looking for in the shim phase, which is complete. So now we have the sidewalls up. These have a specific arrangement because they have some little tabs welded on, like down in the corner there and up in the corners there. So you can't use them interchangeably. They each have to go in their specific spot. So the way we did this is we did this, so we'll call these ones the back, and these are the south and north sidewalls. So the back are 2 10-foot pieces, and we laid those down first, and then we brought in the sidewall. We started with the south sidewall, and then we pinched them together with quick grips, which are those things right there. So you just use those quick grips, and then that'll stand up really nice and easy for you. And then we have the brackets that are down here. So there's 2 on each end, and each sidewall end. So the south end that we're looking at here has 1 and 2. And so one of them has a bolt that goes through to the other side and hard fastens in. And then there's 2 screws at the bottom that go into the treated lumber. Something I haven't done yet is install this middle one. But this one will have 2 screws going into the lumber and 2 screws going through the aluminum. I'm sorry, 2 bolts through the aluminum. And then I still have to put on these back ones as well. So while you're installing these, it's important to keep the aluminum flush with the back and along the walls there. You can see how this sidewall here is tacking a little bit in. At the end, we're going to want to make sure that that's nice and flush, because that's how those brackets are going to be mounted. However, I'm going to wait to mount this one until we have that up. the truss will go across. And we don't want to have the truss not bridge this gap from here to here. So right now that truss reaches 20 feet, and there might be a little bit of variability in this distance between here and there. So before I tack this one in right here, I'm gonna put in and install the truss up top there, and then make sure that that's fastened hard, and then I can go ahead and pull that one back and stretch that out a little bit. Okay, so those are the sidewalls. They're going up now. One thing to note while y'all are disassembling this in the end in October is just keep track of all the hardware that you pull in and out. You should be able to reuse it for several years, but just so you know that those screws on the bottom, those are 1.5" deck screws that are, I think they're number 12. They're really thick and bulky. And these are 1/4" hex bolts that are mounted on the other side with a washer and a 1/4" nylock nut. And that's what I'm using throughout our 1/4" hardware, which is, if something gets stripped or something, you lose something, those are super easy to replace. You can get that at any hardware store. Another point that I want to make long term, in several years, if these brackets wear out, right now they're in perfect condition, but during storage and installation, I could see that these brackets that are welded in right now could wear out. If they do, that's no big deal, because you could just get another, they're called corner brackets or 90-degree brackets, and you could use those in its stead. But these are fine right now, and I would just make sure that you're being careful when you're storing this, so that you're putting a piece of wood in between the sidewalls so that you're not jamming these little brackets and breaking them off. However, if and when they do break off, it's super replaceable. All you need is an angle bracket that you could put right in there. You'd have to drill another hole, but that's super easy. It's the same with they're easy to replace. Here we are at one end of the truss. Getting this up with one person is kind of tricky, so I would definitely suggest using two to get this up. And it has a tendency to want to go that way, to fall towards the building. So just keep an eye on that, because if this thing does fall, it would be not easy to replace. So when you're installing one side, just make sure, like if I started with that side, just make sure that there's somebody else on the other end holding this one in place. Definitely a two-person job. So the truss is up. Now that we have the truss up, it's time to put the ceiling beams in. So the ceiling beams are going to go across here, 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 and then the internal beams are going to run in between them. So right here we have the ceiling beams, and these are the ones that have this bracket welded onto the middle of them. Okay, the main ceiling posts are up. Now the cross ceiling posts are in with the shiny side facing down. Okay, so we have all of the ceiling pieces installed. The main pieces and then the intersecting pieces are all fastened, and it takes a little bit of jogging around and pushing around and for each of those bolts to find the right hole and to fit perfectly, but they do all fit in without too much trouble. So once we're done with that, when the ceiling is set, now we can go ahead and secure this last wall. And that's what I did down here. Just mounted the last two brackets. And something that I want to show you is that in reality, in the shop this didn't happen because I didn't mount this directly to I didn't mount the frame to the boards, but looks like we're about 1/4 of an inch off. So what I did is I just put a nut in there that's a little bit bigger than the width of the threads. So that's just offsetting that gap there, which is no big deal. Right here it's flush, just right there. It's a 1/4 inch off. So if this happens again in the future, just know that that's totally normal. The back is flush. That bracket's on in the middle, and that's the only bracket in the back side, is the middle one. This side, like the other, the north side, this south side also has 2 brackets. So that's holding this thing to the, that's what's holding the walls to the decking board. So here is Fennick Nalu, who's recently created this installation piece. What do you want to say about this, Fen? What is it?
Happy I was trying to make like a little tree house or something, like a little house.
And that's it for the day. So tomorrow what we're going to do is roll out the shade cloth and get that fastened down there with Tech screws, which are self-tapping screws. So the holes will already be in this back wall here. The grommets for the shade cloth will fit right into the, or rather, we'll use the self-tapping screws to go through the grommets into this beam that's going all the way across. And then that shade cloth is going to unfold and go along the top, and then it's going to pinch all along that track on the front of the, or on the back edge of the truss. So we'll do that tomorrow. And then we'll get the furniture, and then we're going to start drinking some coffee out here. Giddy up.